Bangarang! I don't know how else I could possibly open this review. Okay, there's gonna be a ring light glow on my glasses this whole time, and I'm so sorry. Hi friends, what is up? It's me, Becca. Welcome back to my channel and my ongoing quest to review every single movie Robin Williams has ever been in. If you can't tell, if you haven't already heard me talking about it for months, I am reviewing Hook today. This is my Peter Banning inspired bit. Today I'm looking at the 1991 film Hook, directed by Steven Spielberg, also starring Dustin Hoffman, Julia Roberts, Bob Hoskins, Maggie Smith, and Glenn Close in a brief little cameo as the pirate that gets sent to the boo box at the beginning of the movie, if you didn't know that. Hook stars Robin Williams as Peter Banning, a successful corporate lawyer who is ultimately the grown-up Peter Pan, and he doesn't have any idea, but Captain Hook comes and kidnaps his kids and takes them back to Neverland, so he has to remember who he is and get ready to fight Captain Hook. I don't think I need to tell you what this movie's about. Like, I feel like everybody knows about this movie. When I first decided I was going to do this series and review every movie Robin had ever done, I put out like a status on Facebook. And I was like, hey, just curious to hear from people like what Robin Williams films are the most impactful to you. And bar none, Hook was the one I have gotten the most comments about. Hook is the one I've heard from the most people about, which like I've said before, is interesting to me because I didn't grow up watching it. I was too scared. When I was younger, I saw the scene where the son has the baseball on the airplane and is like tossing it around, like dicking around, and Peter is like, you're gonna break the window. And for some reason I had it in my head that he breaks the window, and that was part of the reasons I was so scared to watch it, but that doesn't happen. This is just a movie that I didn't see until I was a lot older, so it's not something that I grew up on. It's not something that I have that nostalgic clutch to. It is a movie that works for me in some areas and does not work for me in other areas, and I'm not really sure if that's a general consensus or not, which is why I'm bringing someone else on to talk about this with me in just a little bit. Let's go through the typical history, background, fun facts stuff that we do on this channel, because obviously such an interesting movie, of course, has a very interesting production history. So this was a movie that Steven Spielberg had wanted to work on for quite some time, but when he became a father in the 80s, he dropped it. It was always going to be about a grown-up Peter Pan, but initially it was going to be very different. Michael Jackson was attached to star. David Bowie had also been in talks to play Hook at one point. Carrie Fisher actually was involved in some of the rewrites to help rewrite Tinkerbell's dialogue, which I guess she did a bad job. I don't know if she did a bad job or if I just don't like Julia Roberts' performance. Again, that is something we'll get to. Cameo-wise, another little cameo fun fact, there's a couple that's kissing that's like flying up on the bridge when Peter is getting taken back to Neverland, and that is George Lucas and Carrie Fisher. Robin saw himself in the Peter character reflected in the time he was not really able to spend with his son Zach while he was among the in the middle of his divorce from Valerie. It has also been said by Robin and by other people that like Peter Banning, especially at the beginning of the movie, like could not be further from who Robin Williams actually is. The film went over budget and over schedule. It was filmed the same summer that Robin filmed Aladdin, so he was very busy. The budget is estimated to have been anywhere from $35 to $50 million, and it would have been a lot higher if Robin Williams, Steven Spielberg, and Dustin Hoffman didn't all agree to forego their upfront salaries completely and just split 40% of the ticket sales amongst themselves. Julia Roberts and Steven Spielberg did not get along. She was miserable on set in the wake of calling off her wedding with Kiefer Sutherland. Apparently every morning Dustin Hoffman ate a bowl of hot onions and garlic. Bob Hoskins would try to walk around singing, "Hello, is it Smee you're looking for?" to like make people happier. Robin and Dustin Hoffman started developing this one-up relationship on set, which is interesting considering how long they've been dodging each other, and Robin's been picking up Dustin's scraps for so long. Robin would want to run to the side of the set and greet fans, where Dustin Hoffman would be like, if he does that, I'm gonna have to do that too, and like that is annoying. He didn't like to do that. Dustin called Robin Mork a couple times jokingly on set. Apparently there were a lot of frequent good-natured battle of wits. In one incident in particular, this is not a reference that I understand, but I'm going to say it just in case anybody does. Dustin Hoffman was not happy with a scene and asked for it to be reshot, and Robin Williams said to him, "Try acting," which is, I guess, a reference to a exchange between Dustin Hoffman and Laurence Olivier on the set of Marathon Man. Like I said, not a reference that I get, but a very funny reference from Robin, and something very sassy as well. Robin did also say that the flying rig was very hard work, but he said, to be 60 feet up in the air flying over a giant pirate ship, that's a nice day. But he said the harness was tight in the crotch, and he said, I know why a lot of women have played the part of Peter Pan. During the production of Hook, Robin Williams and Steven Spielberg became best friends. Robin gave Steven Spielberg a painting of Peter Pan as a parting gift. Steven Spielberg gave Robin a Hook pinball table. Robin would also talk to the actor who played Rufio about how impactful Dead Poets Society was to him, and at the end of shooting, Robin gave him a copy of Leaves of Grass. And just another sweet thing that Robin did on set, if you couldn't tell, because when he's surrounded by young kids, he like does his best work or whatever, because he's like such a sweet man. About an hour into this movie, you can see one of the smaller Lost Boys saying the line, "Welcome back to Neverland, Pan," or something like that. And you can, if you look closely, you can see Robin like mouthing the line back at him, so he wouldn't forget it. To help me do the review portion of this movie, to talk about what is good and what is not good about Hook, but most importantly, why it is so impactful and important to people, my buddy Dillon Davis is coming back on. So if you don't remember, or if you haven't seen my Good Morning Vietnam review, this is my best buddy and podcast co-host Dillon Davis, who
Good morning, Neverland.
Yes, they did say, oh, that's
It's
funny that you're on
reference.
both of these. As somebody watching it, like outside of a nostalgic factor, I would say generally that it is good. It's competent. There are some like very beautiful moments in it. There's some very funny jokes. There's
moments where my wife and I laughed out loud.
Oh yeah,
it killed in the house.
Dustin
we had
Hoffman
a couple of
is incredible in
that
this.
Scenery. He is on every surface. He's so good in it as just the mustachio twirlingest villain you've ever seen.
No, he's incredible. He's great, and Robin is also great in this.
Bob Hoskins is slept on in this movie, but he's very good as Shmi. We can all agree that even though I am looking at this through rose-colored glasses, Julia Roberts sucks in this movie.
I was so glad that you said that.
Sucks. I don't know what had come out for Julia Roberts that made her such a darling, but that felt like this is our darling casting. We've got comedy leading man Robin Williams, and also fresh new face at the time, Julia Roberts.
I wasn't sure if I didn't like just like the Tinkerbell that they gave us, or like what she did.
I felt like she was just reading lines in a high school play. This whole movie has like elevated high school play energy.
A little bit.
That I really enjoy. But then you have people like Julia Roberts turning in a high school theater performance.
Speaking of high school theater performances, though, the opening scene of this movie is the best depiction of a school play I've ever seen in film. I feel like almost everything about this movie could be classified as formulaic.
Yes. It is a by-the-numbers adventure fantasy.
From as soon as he answers the phone during the play, I was like, okay.
Yes, it's formulaic. And this may be the first movie in my memory that hits this formula that I was like looking for ever since then.
Right. That's what I was thinking to myself. Like, I think of this as formulaic, but I don't know if this was like, I'm sure it wasn't the first movie to ever do so.
No. Because Spielberg, we all know, is like heavily influenced by movie serials and like pulp magazine stuff.
Yeah.
So
but when you see something for the first time, you don't recognize those elements yet. And I'm not saying that it's formulaic in saying that it's bad. Like,
no, nothing wrong with the formula.
I think the setup for this, like the concept of just having like the grown-up Peter Pan not knowing who he is like good enough.
It is a good idea. It is genuinely an interesting idea. The sets to me feel so magical every time I watch this movie, because I forgot how much I loved it.
The pirate ship is very magical, but I found myself wondering, like, I wasn't sure if I really liked or really didn't like how like grungy the Lost Boys hangout was. Like, there was graffiti and stuff.
They had skate park. They had basketball.
I think ultimately I liked it because it does feel like very much akin to Rufio. Oh, Rufio's such a badass. Rufio slaps.
So cool. So
Rufio's
hot.
death, though, I think is done very poorly.
It's very fast.
It's so fast.
There's like, I'm affected by it because I watched it when I was 9 and have ever since been like, yo, y'all seen Hook? But I will say, as an adult who's watched many of their favorite characters die in screen and on page, they give him nothing for you to connect to. He's just cool hot sword guy, show up on skateboard, make weird hand finger gesture, Then he mocks a middle-aged man for not being able to beat him up.
True.
Or fly. And then he's like a badass fencer, but not enough to not get stabbed by method actor Dustin Hoffman.
And then all of a sudden it's just like, damn, I wish I had a dad.
I had a dad like you? You don't know him. You didn't get the time.
I did really like that character, and I felt like it was a moment where I should have been sadder, but I was just like, oh,
he was just cool.
What?
Yeah, he was just cool though,
so
right?
Sudden.
Like, very, very sudden.
Rufio's fits though. Mwah.
That crop top, I'm pretty jealous. I want that crop top.
I really wanted to make a tweet that was like, if you're LGBT, you dress like
like Rufio.
Child actors in this are not great.
The one playing Robin's son, the one playing Jack, he seems too smart for me. When he gives line reads, I feel like he's so aware.
Some of the really little kids.
I liked a couple of the Lost Boys, but I think overall you're right. Like now as an adult, I can't.
They didn't take me all the way out of it as bad as Julia Roberts appearing in her big poofy dress.
Laying a smooch on the Will Dog, just going in. I think when I was a kid, I thought was bad.
Towards the end of this, though, like when she says, like, in the place between when you're asleep and dreaming, like, I'll always love you, like, that sappy shit always gets me.
I mean, I like that line, but I don't like the way it was said.
I love To Live Will Be an Awfully Big Adventure, because I'm
oh my God. Like, that quote when they did the live action Peter Pan when Jason Isaacs was Captain Hook.
Yeah.
To die would be an awfully big adventure. My sister and I, to this day, will like whisper it to each other because we saw that in theaters, one of like 5 movies we saw in theaters. And just hearing it in Hook, my heart swelled. I was like, oh, to die would be an awfully big adventure. And I went looking for my tunic made of leaves. I was so excited.
It's really weird how they go about the relationship with Wendy and Peter, though.
Yeah, like, also Gwyneth Paltrow.
Y'all used to bone, but then you pretended to be grandma.
Oh, it is uncomfortable.
That's got to be such a confusing place to be.
The implications of that are not great.
I can see why this would be so impactful to people seeing it that young, like with the quotes, the special quotes.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody with a dad like this, I could see really like resonating with this movie.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning, I was like, isn't this unrealistic? And then I was like, no, there's definitely parents like this.
No, there are dads like this. If the 90s taught me anything, it's that a lot of dads are like this.
Maybe this hits because this is like peak sentimental Robin.
Yeah.
Sort of like this is very much
that
this is
era.
What people look back on.
I thought originally Aladdin would be my favorite, but I can say with certainty that this genuinely is my favorite Robin Williams movie.
Wow.
It's the one I've seen the most. It's the one that has the most quotes in it to me other than Aladdin. To me, it feels, weirdly, I know it feels more genuine than Aladdin's performance, like Genie's performance.
Oh, it definitely feels more genuine.
Yeah.
Because he's not he doesn't get to like riff that much. He riffs like maybe twice.
And they're pretty funny riffs.
Yeah.
They're fine. I still chuckle at, oh, Rufio, why don't you suck on a dead dog's nose? I get every time.
Yeah, just the way he delivers this, which you can see like in Robin's performance how much this like means to him.
He really connected with Peter, I think.
Yeah, he definitely did.
Dustin Hoffman got Hook in a way that I did not think you could do. Like a man clearly afraid of death. Like the whole allegory of Neverland and death and time passing, death being Hook's biggest fear. That's why he hates clocks. Like,
yeah,
really made sense to me this time. I was like seeing it for the first time in 5-6 years. I was like, oh, this is a man afraid of death. I see. I actually think Shmi and Hook have a very very good relationship in this movie.
Oh yeah,
more couple-like.
Comedy duo is awesome. And Shmi was like, "Make the children love you," and he was like, "Shmi, I have an idea."
I've had an idea. Yeah, every inch of that movie seems like a love letter.
That was what Steven Spielberg said he watched the day that he found out Robin died. He put on Hook,
and he couldn't finish it. Yeah, I get it. This is the one I would put on. I feel like you kind of get to know Robin as a person better watching this film.
Yeah.
Like you get to see parts of him, like the subtle man. Weirdly, this is one of his more subtle performances.
It is. It really is. As Peter Pan, of all
As
people.
Peter fucking Pan.
I liked this a lot, but I just don't know. It may be one of those that I think about more and more as time passes, but like,
Yeah.
it's only like just sitting with it today. It hasn't been on my mind like Fisher King was even just like last week.
For like the 2 hours, which is a long runtime
It's
for a
two
kid.
and a half, actually.
Yeah, it's a long
It's
shit. That's a
so
long
long.
movie. And for me, it didn't feel like a very long time. I was hooked.
It didn't feel
Pardon the
incredibly long to
pun.
me either. It didn't
Yeah.
feel like as long as it was, but there were a couple of
No.
times that I was like, damn, it's been a while.
They don't meet Lost Boys for almost the first hour. It's a long time. The movie made me feel younger. Kudos, Peter Pan. And it made me happy. And I was quoting lines I haven't thought about in years. I just really love this film, and it like Spielberg did it again for me. I'm simple. I like a good blockbuster always.
I mean, it's okay to be simple.
Yeah, no, I
Like
know. I
cliches are
just like,
cliches for a reason. Like, are the
yeah,
moments in this movie predictable? Like, absolutely.
yeah,
But they're so
absolutely.
rewarding as well, and ultimately
Oh
that's what
yeah.
matters. Is like if they pay off for you, then they pay off for you.
Is it entertaining? That's
Yeah.
all I care about. Yeah.
Like, do I feel like I wasted my time watching this? Like, clearly not, or I would have been looking regular. Well, thanks for coming back and doing this.
Hey, you got a friend? Anytime,
Yeah.
we're besties. You know I
Well,
got you.
we'll see Dillon again when me, Dillon, and future guest Charlie Allen all do Old Dogs
Boy,
towards
that's
the
gonna be
end
a
of this
hoot.
run. Like we said, when Hook came out, critics slammed the movie. A lot of people called it way too long and way too sentimental. The LA Times specifically said it is a film in which arrogant spectacle smothers gentle magic. But despite all that, it opened in first at the box office and remained in first for a month. It didn't do quite as hugely well as I think everyone was expecting it to, but it is by no means a flop. And clearly, the staying power that it has, it's like by and large a cult film almost. Steven Spielberg distanced himself from the film after it came out. He didn't go to a lot of promotional events. He was not around. During this time, Steven Spielberg wrote a letter to Robin that calls him my faithful, compassionate friend and the true Prince of Pans. And then he was like, honestly, I just don't want to know what people are saying about it. Hook was also nominated for 5 Oscars: production design, costume design, visual effects, makeup, and best original song. Didn't win any of those. Dustin Hoffman was nominated for a Golden Globe for his performance for Hook, but he actually did lose to Robin Williams in The Fisher King because all these movies came out so close together. Robin kind of made a joke in his acceptance speech at the Golden Globes for The Fisher King about how busy he was and how much he was working on, where he started to like forget who to thank, and he thanked Dustin Hoffman for winning for The Fisher King, which is funny because they were in a movie together, but also he just beat him. And that is the best good-natured one-upmanship you can possibly have. If you have not already seen Hook, it is streaming on Netflix. It is also available to rent on Vudu, Prime, YouTube, and iTunes if you don't have Netflix. Next week, I will be looking at Robin's first official animated film right before Aladdin that is allegedly maybe one of the reasons that he got the role or was comfortable doing animation. Fern Gully, The Last Rainforest. I don't really know anything about it except that it's about a rainforest and maybe it's kind of bad. So we'll see what happens. But until next time, I don't know. Fly high, bangarang.